Welcome. Scott here. Today I am bringing you another Black Clover mobile video. In this video, I will be covering on the upcoming seasonal mages, Ceremony Yami and Ceremony Luck. Both of them are attackers class. Yami is under sense or green attribute while Luck is under the blue or technique attribute. As long as we can complete the gateway of reunion missions, we will be claim one of them from the gateway. So which mage is the better option to select? Should we pull on the banner? This video aims to provide you with the insights to allow you to make your decision. In my personal opinion, the mage that you select will really depend on your roster. In any gacha game, building a diversified roster is important so that you have the necessary tools to clear any PvE content the game give you. Most of the time, there are important rewards locked behind the content which will aid your account progress. If your roster don't have a good nuker mage like Rhea, Hateful Fauna, Kyoto, or Julius, you can pick up Ceremony Yami from the gateway. Yami can also be used in PvP arena in a mono green setup. If you have Clover Academy Charlotte at LR+2 and above, you can choose to select Luck for more counter-attack team combo in a mono blue team setup. In short, both of the mages are decent and good attacker mages. However, with the forthcoming returning festival mage Julius and the highly anticipated debut of Mirioliana, you should be considering saving your resources for them instead of pulling for these mages. Sometime in the future, these seasonal mages will return and you can choose to pull for them when that time comes. Let me start off with the captain of the Black Bull. In general, Ceremony Yami is a sense attribute type attacker. His key roles involve the following. He has an extra damage mechanic that scales off 50% of his total attack and magic attack stats. The extra attack is stackable up to 4 times. As the stacks build over time, Yami will hit significantly harder. Upon using his special dimension slash, he can give himself a barrier buff where the value of the barrier scales off his attack stats. If his extra damage is at max stacks, the attack will also bypass defenses with his defense penetration buff. His skill 1 continuous slash is the skill that allows you build up his extra attack stacks. His skill 2 swift strike is an AoE attack that inflicts bleed on all targets. If the targets are inflicted with bleed, Yami will inflict them with the stun status ailment. Upon promote Yami to LR, he will gains a passive that allows him to gain 30% increased damage dealt when attacking a defender target. At enhancement level 2, he will gain a barrier buff that equates to 100% of his attack stats whenever his SP is at 8 points. At enhancement level 5, in addition to the barrier buff, he will also gains 30% damage reduction buff once his skill points is maxed at 8 points. Generally, Ceremony Yami is an investment-friendly mage. Having him at base copy will be good enough for nuking bosses for PvE events. He can be deployed with mono green team comp in arena. A sample of mono green team will consist of infamous duo of Mirioliana and Ceremony Charlotte. The last member can be any green unit like Raids, Clover Academy Mimosa, Rill, Swimsuit Vanessa, Fateful Vanessa, or Geldra. For his skill page, you can use his skill page to enhance his damage output from his skill 1 or use the standard attacker mage skill pages like Breath of Darkness, or Fauna skill page. For gear sets, I will recommend you to give the standard advanced attack, critical rate, and critical damage gear set. You can also use penetration gear set since Ceremony Yami has extra damage mechanics that could bypass bosses mechanics. If you want to know more about gear sets, you can check out my gear sets video. Before I proceed to talk about his kit, let me briefly explain the fundamentals of building a good team comp. In general, every good team comp needs a balanced set of characters playing their various roles. To be honest, bringing a full team of attacker mages won't get you to clear endgame content. Since Ceremony Yami will be your primarily damage dealer, you need to bring a combination of offensive and defensive support that consists of other mage class such as defender, healer, or debuffer mages to round up your party. Being an attacker mage, skills upgrade is very important. Even at level 2, you can see exponential increase in your skill damage potencies. To upgrade the skills, you need to use wool shards. Wool shards can be bought at the world regional shops monthly. If you upgrade your world reputation to level 2, you will unlock the option to buy the highest tier upgrade material. If you haven't done so, I will suggest you to start leveling up the reputation level by doing bond patrol or memory hall fights for that specific world. You can also get skills upgrade materials at your squad shop if you have joined a squad. You can buy them weekly with guild medals or monthly with guild raid coins. So try to level up and join a guild. If you have spending power, you can buy skills enhancement chests at the premium black crystal shop. Now let me go through his skill set. His skill 1 continuous slash is a single target HP attack and grants Yami a extra damage stack upon use. On top of his skill damage, he will deal additional damage that scales off 50% of his total attack and magic attack stats. At max stacks of 4, Yami can do 200% of his attack and magic attack stacks as an extra damage. The issue with this is the long ramp up you need to undergo before Yami fulfill his max potential damage. If you have his skill page, the attack will also grant Yami's increased speed buff that boost his speed to allow him to more turns to build up the stacks. His skill 2 Swift Strike is an AoE attack that dispels any counter attack buff present. If the enemy has bleed continuous damage active, Yami will inflict 1 turn stun status ailment. If the enemy don't have bleed debuff, Yami will apply a stack of bleed continuous damage. Bleed will inflict damage equal to 5% of target's maximum HP. His special dimension slash is a single target nuke ability. Upon using the skill, Yami will grant himself a barrier buff that scales off his own attack stats for 2 turns. If his extra damage stacks is at maximum 4 stacks, the attack will grant Yami defense penetration level 5 that allows Yami to ignore 50% of the target's defense and a whooping 300% increased damage dealt buff. Upon using the attack, it will reset Yami's extra damage stack back to 1. His combined attack is a single target attack with the partner Mage that dispel counter attack buff from the target. To maximize the use of Yami's special damage output, you need continuously use his skill 1. Unleash his special once his extra damage stacks are maxed so you gain that juicy defense penetration and 300% increased damage dealt buff when Yami unleash his special to nuke the enemy. As you won't be draining skill points while using his skill 1, Yami will always maintain his self-barrier buff if you have him at LR+2 enhancement levels. This will help a bit to protect him while he is building up his stacks. If you don't want to invest in him, you can pair him with Ceremony Charlotte for her barrier buff or support him with damage mitigation support with Raids, William, Swimsuit Ghosh, Mirioliana or Black Asta. Likewise, you can also pair with healers to upkeep his HP. When tackling a PvE content like squad boss or raid bosses, you can just pair Yami with nuking team comp supports like Finral, Sally, Gifso or Swimsuit Ghosh. With his innate LR passive, Yami is good in handling opposition defense mages since he will always do 30% more damage to them. So have him focus on the defender mage while your other members focus on the other members. Do make an effort to invest and upgrade his skills damage potencies and you will reap the benefit a lot. Now let's cover on his skill page. Yami's skill page allows him to have a 55% chance of gaining 10% increased damage dealt buff. At max enhancement, you will have a guaranteed chance of activating the increased damage buff and the potencies will improve from 10% to 50% as well. The skill page will also enhance his Ceremony Yami's skill 1 that grants him an increased speed level 1 buff whenever he uses the skill. Unless you are targeting the upper leagues and have big spending power, I won't recommend you to chase too hard for the skill page. You can end up hurting your resources to pull for the upcoming units. Similar to most attackers, if you don't have their skill page, you can use skill page that focus on raising their damage potencies. For skill page replacement, you can use base Fauna skill page or Breath of Darkness, the free SSR skill page that you get at the start of the game. You can also use Breath of Fire skill page when you are tackling PvE content. For budget SR skill page, you can consider the Mysterious Book skill page. Now let's cover on his talents. To understand what is the best talent settings, you need know the mage's role. Ceremony Yami's primary role is a nuker attacker mage. Fighting a prolonged battle won't benefit him a lot, so you want to kill off the opposition or deal as much damage possible once he uses his special. For his attack talent wheel, I would suggest getting him these 3 attack talents: increased critical damage, increased attack and sharp mind. Use increased critical damage and sharp mind for PvE while increased attack and sharp mind for PvP setup. For Craved Stone, you can use Destruction Talent Stone or Attack Talent Stone. Attack Talent Stone is used if you want to boost Yami's extra damage mechanic. For the Defense Talent Wheel, I recommend you to go for the Endurance Defensive Talent, which gives his 4% defense and 2% critical resistance, up to 5 times per wave, along with the increased defense talent that boosts his defense by 20%. For the Craved Stone, you will want to give him the defense talent Craved Stone. For the support talent wheel, you should choose the increased damage resistance for the 10% damage reduction, and increased accuracy and penetration to enhance his damage potencies. Penetration stats is good for attackers. Whenever your mage attacks, a certain portion of the target's defense is ignored when damage is dealt based on the character's penetration stat. On the other hand, accuracy will helps to boost Yami's survivability as it allows him to have higher chance of damage reduction activation. For Craved Stone, I will prioritize on giving Yami the critical resistance or life talent stone. Avoid Speed Stone if you don't have higher grade speed stones on your supporters or debuffers. If you want to pair Ceremony Yami with Swimsuit Vanessa, make sure you max out Vanessa's support talent wheel and give her a speed stone. In any nuking setup, you will want your debuffers and supporters take their turns to set up the debuffs and party support buffs before the nuker attacker mage unleash their attacks. If you intend to bring Yami to endgame PvE content or PvP, I would highly recommend you max out all his talent wheels. Now let's focus on his gear sets. Generally, you want to target for advanced gear sets pieces. It doesn't matter whether you give Yami attack or magic attack since his extra damage mechanics scales off both attack and magic attack stats. The Omnius gear set is the most important gear sets that you want to equip on Yami since it will boost both his magic attack and attack stats by 7%. Depend on the content you are targeting, you can give Yami advanced speed set so he moves faster for him to set up his extra damage stacks. Ceremony Yami needs 4 turns to ramp up his extra damage stack to its maximum. The last gear set pieces can be either boosting his critical rate or critical damage. As a general rule of thumb for any attacker mage gear, you will want to have as high critical rate and critical damage stats for the mage when they equip the gear. To nuke any enemy of 1,000,000 HP and above, Yami need to have at least total 25k of attack and magic attack stats and at least 80% critical damage. To trigger critical damage, you need to have decent critical rate. I will recommend you to have minimally at least 55% critical rate since you can cover the shortfall with critical rate gear or critical rate up buffers like Sally or Finral. If you don't have Sally, please do consider in getting her in future ticket exchange. She is really a valuable supporter that complements nuking setup. If you don't have good barrier support, the advanced defense set will be important for Yami's survivability, but you need to enchant a lot to boost the gear's critical rate and critical damage. You can refer to the gear set shown on rightmost on the screen. For gear substats, I will suggest you to focus on critical rate and critical damage first, followed by attack or magic stats. Generally, you can easily boost your attack over time by transcending attacking gear pieces. With the captain covered, let's proceed to cover on the next member, the Black Bull's Battle Maniac. In general, Ceremony Luck is a technique attribute type attacker. He will revive the defunct counter meta. His key roles involve the following. he is a damage dealer where his damage output scales off the number of active counter-attack buffs on the party. He can also constantly apply his continuous damage electrocute with his abilities, providing him some off-turn damage utility. As his damage potencies are average for an attacker, Luck serves as a secondary damage dealer, particularly excelling in dealing both single target and area of effect or AoE damage. His skill 1 Lightning Edge dispels a target's barrier buff and applies an instance of electrocute continuous damage. You can stack up to 3 times of electrocute. His skill 2 Spark deals AoE damage to all targets while granting the party counter-attack buff. If you have his skill page equipped, the skill will also inflict a stack of electrocute. His special Lightning Stomp is a single target attack that inflicts electrocute for 2 turns and deals extra damage that scales off the number of active counter-attack buff that is active on the party. The ability will also raises Luck's speed. With his passives, Luck's damage will be boosted by 10% increased damage dealt whenever his counter-attack buff is active. At LR+2, whenever Luck has counter-attack buff active, he will reduce damage received on himself by 70% for 2 turns. At LR+5, on top of the damage reduction bonus from the counter-attack buff, Luck will refill his skill points to max whenever he attacks a target that has been inflicted with a continuous damage. Examples of continuous damage applications are burn, bleed, poison, or electrocute. Generally, Luck will need more investment than Yami since his mechanics requires him to receive some damage to trigger the counter-attacks. Having a base copy of Luck should be good enough for a budget arena setup. However, if you are targeting the upper leagues, it is recommended to have Luck at least LR+2 for better survivability. If you max out his enhancement, he can spam his special like no tomorrow whenever as long as you can upkeep his electrocute continuous damage. Luck works well in a counter-oriented setup with defender mages like Black Asta or Mirioliana. Alternatively, you can use a mono blue team comp that consists of him, William, Clover Academy Charlotte and party costume Noel. For skill pages, you can use any attack-based skill page like his own, Fauna skill page, or Breath of Darkness skill page. Raising his attack and magic attack stats help to boost the damage of his continuous damage from his electrocute. As he is an attacker, her optimal gear sets are primarily advanced attack, speed and defense. Defense set is recommended because you will want to abuse his counter-attack mechanics. You also need to ensure your party has advanced defense pieces. The higher survivability that your party has, the more counter-attacks you are likely to trigger. Before I proceed to talk about his kit, let me briefly explain the fundamentals of building a good team comp. In general, every good team comp needs a balanced set of characters playing their various roles. To be honest, bringing a full team of attacker mages won't get you to clear endgame content. Since Ceremony Luck revolves on building a counter-attack team setup, you want to pair him with debuffers and defender mages so they can weaken enemies with debuffs or reduce damage received with their damage mitigation. Being an attacker mage, skills upgrade is very important. Even at level 2, you can see exponential increase in your skill damage potencies. To upgrade the skills, you need to use wool shards. Wool shards can be bought at the world regional shops monthly. If you upgrade your world reputation to level 2, you will unlock the option to buy the highest tier upgrade material. If you haven't done so, I will suggest you to start leveling up the reputation level by doing bond patrol or memory hall fights for that specific world. You can also get skills upgrade materials at your squad shop if you have joined a squad. You can buy them weekly with guild medals or monthly with guild raid coins. So try to level up and join a guild. If you have spending power, you can buy skills enhancement chests at the premium Black Crystal shop. Now let me go through his skill set. His skill 1 Lightning Edge is a single target attack that dispels the target's barrier buff and inflict 2 turns electrocute continuous damage. Similar to burn, electrocute will deal additional damage that scales off the total of 20% of Luck's both attack and magic attack stats. His skill 2 Spark is an AoE attack that grants the party counter-attack buff. If the party member has counter-attack buff active, the ability will extend the buff duration by 1 turn. If you have his skill page, it will inflict an instance of electrocute for 2 turns. His special lightning stomp is a single target ability. Upon using the skill, luck will inflict electrocute on 2 turns. The ability deals extra damage of 40% of luck's attack and magic attack stats for every active counter-attack buff on the party. It will grant luck increased speed level 1 for a turn. His combined attack is a single target attack with the partner mage that grants luck 30% increased damage dealt buff if the target has an active continuous damage such as electrocute, burn, bleed or poison. In playing luck, you will want to upkeep luck's counter-attack buff active as much as possible. Thus, you want to get him the mage's blessing support talent. Pair with him with debuffers like party costume Noel, healer like swimsuit Charmy or defenders mages like Mirioliana or Black Asta can be a very nasty combo. He pairs really well with Clover Academy Charlotte to revive the mono blue counter meta. Do note that luck don't do a lot of damage when he use his skills. The bulk of his damage comes mainly from the party's counter attack and the continuous damage from his electrocute. Do make an effort to invest and upgrade his skills damage potencies and you will reap the benefit a lot. Now let's cover on his skill page. Luck's skill page allows him to have 55% chance to grant a 20% increased attack buff whenever he has an act by counter attack buff. The skill page will also enable luck to inflict 2-turn electrocute continuous damage with the ability. At max enhancement, you will have a guaranteed chance of activating the increased damage buff and the potencies will improve from 20% to 40% as well. Unless you are targeting the upper leagues and have big spending power, I won't recommend you to chase too hard for the skill page. You can end up hurting your resources to pull for the upcoming units. Compared to Yami, luck will need his skill page more since you want his application of electrocute triggers more often, otherwise without his skill page it will hurt his off-turn damage a lot. Similar to most attackers, if you don't have their skill page, you can use skill page that focus on raising their damage potencies. For skill page replacement, you can use base Fauna skill page or Breath of Darkness, the free SSR skill page that you get at the start of the game. For budget attack skill page, you can consider the Mysterious Book skill page. As luck is deployed in team comps that involved hit and counter setup, you can also use Moonlight Necklace skill page to boost luck's defense as he is rather squishy. Now let's cover on his talents. To understand what is the best talent settings, you need know the mage's role. Luck's primary role is a secondary attacker mage while continuously electrocuting his opposition and enable party's counters. To enable him to do this role well, you need to raise his attack and magic attack stats as high as possible while having a decent defense that prevent him from getting too squishy. For his attack talent wheel, I would suggest getting him the Battle Frenzy and increased magic attack talent. Battle Frenzy will allows luck to slowly boost his critical rate while increased magic attack raises his magic attack by 7% and thus boosting the continuous damage from his electrocute. For the attack talent stone is best craved stone option here without a doubt. For the defense talent wheel, I recommend you to go for the endurance defensive talent, which gives him 4% defense and 2% critical resistance, up to 5 times per wave, along with the increased defense talent that boosts his defense by 20%. For the craved stone, you will want to give him the defense talent craved stone. For the support talent wheel, you should choose the increased damage resistance for the 10% damage reduction. The other talent, you can choose between Mage Blessing or increased accuracy and penetration. Penetration stats is good for attackers. Whenever your mage attacks, a certain portion of the target's defense is ignored when damage is dealt based on the character's penetration stat. On the other hand, accuracy will helps to boost luck's survivability as it allows him to have higher chance of damage reduction activation. For luck's case, I will opt for Mage Blessing talent since it will give him 20% chance to cool down his skill 2 at the start of his turn. The more often he can uses his skill 2, the better that luck will serves for the team. For craved stone, I will prioritize on giving luck either the critical resistance or life talent stone. If you intend to bring luck to endgame PvE content or PvP, I would highly recommend you max out all his talent wheels. Now let's focus on his gear sets. Generally, you want to target for advanced gear sets pieces. For luck, the Omnius gear set is the most important gear sets that you want to equip on him, since it will boost both his magic attack and attack stats by 7%. Having higher base attack or magic attack stats will help to improve the potencies of the off-turn damage dealt from his electrocute. Depend on the content you are targeting, you can equip the advanced speed set so that luck moves faster for him to set up his counter-attack buff or reapply his electrocute continuous damage. The last gear set pieces should be advanced defense piece from the Great Merchant set. Except for his special, luck skills don't have great damage potencies, so it won't benefit him a lot even if you give him gear with high critical rate or critical damage stats. The advanced defense pieces will help to reinforce his survivability. Other than the gear set, you might want to consider to swap the large attack piece for a defense piece to boost Luck's defense. On the flip side, you also don't want to lower Luck's attack and magic attack stats too much, as it will hurt his continuous damage from his electrocute. If you have luck with LR+2 enhancement level, you can go with full attack piece setup as shown on the screen. If you intend to use luck at base level, you might need to sacrifice an attack piece for a defense piece. For gear substats, I will suggest you to focus on magic attack %, attack %, critical resistance and defense %. The longer that luck lasts, the higher chances you will win the fight. With this, I have come to end of my video guide. If you like the video, please give a like. Please subscribe to support the channel to bringing you more Black Clover mobile content. Have a nice day. Bye.